Hey y'all, I'm back. So let's talk about the sovereignty series. We're here today with Joya Das, and I want to have her introduce herself in just a second because she's such a powerful person. But I really want to just share that this is a series that I'm doing. I'm not just going to be doing with guests on here. I'm also going to be teaching on some other videos that will be coming up, if I can talk, in this series. And so, if you are enjoying this, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you have any questions around sovereignty, what it is, what it entails, all those things, all the questions you have, feel free to leave it down below. I'm Gabrielle Leonard, and I help my clients to create six-figure months by owning their sovereignty and closing high-end clientele. That is what I do. And recently, I've had Joya join my program, the sovereignty program. Actually, this is Joya's second round in sovereignty. And I'm going to have her introduce herself right now and tell you who she is and what she does. Go ahead, Joya.
Well, Gabrielle, for 20 years, my avatar, my identity here in New York City is that I've been a news anchor. I've covered the financial markets from the floor of the stock exchange for 20 years. And at the 10-year mark of my career, I founded a women's leadership platform. And this business was truly born out of a personal pain point. I was born to Indian immigrant parents. They had very prescriptive scripts on what a girl's trajectory was supposed to look like. I didn't want to toe that line. So I left home at 18 and I paid for college and I paid for grad school and I paid for every move around the country to come to New York City and live out my dream of becoming a news anchor. But all of a sudden I was injected into this very high profile world and I didn't necessarily know how to show up in those spaces. So I created this leadership platform because I want to be able to provide agency, tools, resources for other women to be able to show up for that next level, that next chapter of their lives. And so I'm really proud to say that my business is now 10 years old.
Yes. Congratulations on your 10-year-old business. That is such an amazing feat to accomplish. I feel like a lot of us get into business and so many people don't make it to the 10-year mark. So that in and of itself is such an amazing feat. So congratulations on that. So let's talk about your sovereignty journey,
Yeah.
right? We are going to get into your sovereignty journey and what that has been like for you. But before I begin, I want to say this, you guys, if you're watching this, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on the replay, I want to invite you to sign up for the Own Your Sovereignty training. So if you're watching this and you're like, wow, I've seen this is the third video in the series now where people are talking about this sovereignty journey. And I want to know more about what it is and I want to learn how to show up in this way as well. There is a free training available for you. Go ahead and comment hashtag sovereignty down below and we will go ahead and reach out to you and give you access to that free training. All right. So go ahead and share your sovereignty journey. You decided to join the sovereignty program. Why? Why did you decide to join?
Gabrielle, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that you set the wheels in motion. I hosted a mastermind dinner in Boston, and you and your colleague and friend, your ride or die BC, got on a plane and flew to Boston for one night for my mastermind dinner. Now, I find myself to be an outlier in most situations in being that person that would do something like that. It's rare that I meet other women that have baller energy like that. And the fact that you showed up and you showed up on time, that's another big thing for me. Like all of a sudden I was like, what is going on here? And I want to know more. And so when you kind of welcomed me and opened the doormat essentially for me to be a part of your program, I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't even know what I was signing up for, but I knew I wanted to be a part of it. Now that I'm on the other side of it, 2 cycles in, what has my sovereignty journey been? I grew up in a home of domestic violence. So my first ideas and messages about being a woman were that we were second-class citizens and that there are repercussions for having a voice. The irony is that I grew up to use my voice to make a living. But I think that really shaped a lot of my self-worth. And so I would say that the second sort of seminal moment for me when my self-worth changed is when I took a women's empowerment class in 2010. And without getting into the entire curriculum, the one thing I remember that woman talking about is how you have to always fill up your own cup. You have to fill up your own cup before you fill up anybody else's, because you serve all these other roles and you're doing yourself a disservice by not filling up your own cup before you walk into those other roles that you play. And so I would say then the next seminal moment was being with you and learning that it's more than just how you show up. Actually, it's everything about the way you show up. I'm wearing this shirt right now because of what I learned in the program. I learned my colors. I learned what it means to show up like a queen. I learned what it means to have my kingdom. What are the politics in my kingdom? What are my standards in that kingdom? I think that you come at business. When people ask me about, the masterminds I'm in, I say I'm in one that's very head-centered. I'm in one that's very heart-centered. And then I'm in one that focuses on sales. And I would never go and try and build a business again without having these spaces to show up in so that I can bring any of the issues that I have. And for me, clearly one isn't enough. I'm in three. And I think your heart-centered approach to business is really novel to me. Like really being that person that walks into a room dressed to magnetize, in our essence, ready to magnetize opportunities to me, is very different than the hustler that I've been since I was a very young girl. Yeah. I've had to hustle to get to this point in my life. And for you to kind of flip that paradigm and say, no, we're going to invest so much in this and this, that you are going to just stand in a room and magnetize people to you. And I'll tell you that I walked into a networking event about a month ago now, and I didn't know anybody. The person who had invited me was a panelist. So she couldn't sit there and talk to me. She had to get ready for her panel. And I showed up in fuchsia tones as the colors we talked about in the first round. And I was like, I don't know anybody here, but I'm just going to stand here. I'm just going to stand here and see who comes my way. And I locked eyes with a woman across the way. I walked over to her because she was wearing this beautiful Egyptian shawl. We got to talking, and I closed her that night. And so I think that there's so much purchase, for lack of a better word, in learning about how you show up and magnetize things to you, as opposed to always grasping from the outside to create opportunities. I'm reading Phil Jackson's book. Phil Jackson, of course, is one of the best NBA coaches of all time. And he talks about building winning teams. He coached the Chicago Bulls and the LA Lakers. And he talked about how Michael Jordan was a player who let the game come to him. Whereas Kobe Bryant was someone who would force the action. He would force the plays. And how could he get these two big personalities to work together? So the hustler in me is not gone. Yeah. But how do I work with this other thing that you've introduced to me so that I can let the game come to me?
Yeah, it really allows you to be balanced, because that's actually where I was. I was very heavily in the hustle culture until I made a conscious decision a few years ago that I'm no longer going to be centering my business around the hustle culture. But you still have to have a balance. You still have to have a go-getter mentality when it comes to business. You still have to be a closer, which requires you to be assertive, and it requires you to be proactive, which, people, I think, mistake for hustle, right? But at the same time, you can also at the same time be in alignment, and you can be certain, and you can be magnetic and magnetize opportunities and clientele and money to you. So it really allows you to, sovereignty allows you to be more balanced, because most of us already are in the hustle culture. It is what society teaches us to do. And so this piece, like you said, allows you to have both, and allows you to know how to kind of balance and be in both without one or outweighing the other. Because if you're too much in your feminine, it's a problem. We talk about that in sovereignty as well. A lot of us are too much in our feminine, and we're too much in the wait and see, and we're not able to close clientele either. So it's really a good balance. So let's talk about, I remember inside of sovereignty, you were like, I want to be one of those people who have 50K months too. I want to do that as well. So talk about you going from having saying that inside of sovereignty to now having your first 100K revenue month. Let's talk about that.
I talk about coming out of a home not really understanding my value at all. I had a vision. I had hustle. And those are the two things that got me out of that home and got me, to 40 years old, 45 years old. But then I think I had a ways to go in terms of really valuing me in a big way. And so when I think about everything that I've learned from you, it's really about just holding yourself in that queen place that I don't think I've ever thought about myself in that way.
Yeah.
And again, like for you to say being magnetic, I've started to walk into rooms and just I've done all the inner work. I've done the outer work, showing up, in the right colors and in the right sensuality that I want to be in. And then I'm just letting the room come to me. And that is truly how I think that I was able to create my first $100,000 month. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that, I also have sales coach training. So it's asking questions, coming from a place of service, really remembering my why, which is that I want to have as much impact as I can on as many women to have agency over that next chapter in the way that I'm always seeking to have agency over every chapter.
Yeah.
So, everything kind of dovetailed into each other, but I think you've been really instrumental in me just owning being a queen. And I sometimes will say this to certain people if I know they're going to be receptive to it, because not everybody understands it. But I say, like, what are the politics in my kingdom, and what do I think about myself as a queen? And it's down to like even just nitty gritty things, right? Like, it's not only just the lingerie that I'm wearing underneath this today. It's the liner that sits in the drawer that holds my lingerie that's fragrant when I open that drawer. It's rearranging my closet to only have jewel toned clothing. It's packing for Sicily in January, only bringing jewel toned clothing, really thinking and being intentional about all the ways that I show up in all the spaces, and then let the room come to me. I can't say that enough.
You know what's interesting? A lot of people I know have been in sales training. We've all had some level of sales training here and there. And I found a lot of people have been doing sales training and figuring out how to do sales and doing webinars and trainings and coachings around sales, but then struggle to close clients, or they struggle to close high-end clients because they can close some sales here and there, but they can't close like 20K plus clientele because there's some kind of a ceiling that happens, that if you don't if you don't do the inner work, that sales training doesn't work.
Yes.
I've seen that time and time and time again, because that's what I was doing. I was a sales coach, and I'm still a sales coach. I help people close high-end sales. Like, I'm known as the closer. We learn the skill of closing, high-end close, right? That's what I do. But I realized that a lot of people will come to me and I would give them the training, the strategy, and there would be a block. And then we would do this work. And then all of a sudden that block is removed.
Yeah.
The ceiling is shattered. And all of a sudden they're easily closing 20K plus clients. Not only that, it's now become normalized. And so it happens really fast. The normalization happens really quickly. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, another one, like DJ Khaled, another one, right? That's what happens. So there's a lot of people who come to me who have sales training, and then they're like, something isn't working. It's not that the sales training isn't working. It's that you haven't unlocked the part of you that allows the sales training to work.
I had to really get in alignment with
Yeah.
asking for 21,000.
Yeah.
And when you align with that, what is that really saying? That my self-worth is also caught up to, I command this in the marketplace because I'm doing the work. I really pour myself into all of the folks that come through my program. That pouring into somebody else, it's called the Pygmalion effect, where you believe in someone more than they even believe in themselves. That in and of itself is worth 21,000. That's probably actually worth 50,000. Who do you know in your world believes in you more than you believe in yourself? Okay, your parents, but you're not paying them and they're not paying you. So, when you're paying someone to have that level of investment in you, what is that really worth? I've had a woman who came in wanting a promotion by July. She got a promotion by July. I have a woman who wanted to create a fund. She's created that inside of 9 months and is entertaining 9 or 10 deals. So I have proof that my work and my investment in people is also bearing fruit. I'm not speaking from a place of not having results. So I had to really take stock and inventory of all of that.
Yeah. A lot of people, and that's the thing, there's a lot of experts, powerhouses that we know and are not charging what they should be charging because they haven't come to that realization, right? And what I love about sovereignty is that there is no way you can be inside of sovereignty and not come to that realization. You come to the realization really quickly because when you start building out your kingdom and you start creating the politics in your kingdom, you're like, well, I'm a high-end queen. My kingdom is a wealthy kingdom. Like we make lots of money here. We connect with other powerhouses as well here. Then you start to realize and you start to show up in that. When you start to do the inner work, you start to ask yourself questions. Well, why am I not charging this? Why am I so afraid to ask for this? You start digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you realize there's no reason why I shouldn't, so let's just go ahead and do it. And it becomes such a powerful moment. So you close, I think you said it was 5 clients at 21,000 plus? 5 plus?
Eight of them.
And the numbers are rising.
And I'm on the way to get 6 more.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other thing I'll say to you, and this goes back to what I was intrigued by when I first met you, getting on a plane and flying to Boston overnight. You have really normalized the idea of charging high end for high end. Yeah. I don't know that a lot of us are necessarily in circles that spout that kind of self-investment dogma all day long, but you do, and you've normalized it. And now it's like, well, what about 50,000? What about 100,000? We're having those conversations, and there are many circles that would not understand why someone would charge that kind of money. How dare you? How dare you be, that much of a convicted, a businesswoman with that much conviction about your pricing?
Yeah. And it's the thing, we have the audacity. That's the whole point. I have the audacity to do that. One of the books that we read in the program is called The Audacity to Be Queen. The Audacity to Be Queen. And that's literally what it is. It is the audacity to show up, to charge what we're worth, to understand our value, to walk in our power, to walk in our femininity, right? Unapologetically. To show up.
What are we really talking about here? You're also putting yourself then in front of a higher value, a higher quality of person.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, how many times have we worked with people where we've charged very little and they're our biggest pain in the ass? Mm-hmm. I love that I am working with really bright, deep thinking, thoughtful women. This is what, this is what I would want my kingdom to be made of, is, women that I can have these deep conversations with, and I'm having those. But I had to really make that paradigm shift to think about maybe not so much about the money. Of course, the money is piece of it, but why am I doing this?
Yeah. You know what I will say? I think you are one of my favorite students inside of Sovereignty to watch because you take every single assignment so seriously. Not no one else does. Other people who are inside of Sovereignty do that, but you, even if you miss, you're not there, I know I'm going to see your assignment inside the group. You're in there, you ask questions, you apply yourself to the work and you see the work happening. So what I want to know from you is, what has been your favorite thing to experience inside of Sovereignty? What's your favorite, maybe your favorite session, your favorite thing to experience inside of Sovereignty so far?
I like the colors. I realized once I did that I was buying a lot of clothing that was good for blondes, and I am not one.
Yeah.
So I will never buy baby blue or baby pink ever again. I really shouldn't be showing up always in a turtleneck. I don't know when I decided to be a frump. And, I realized that I have a beautiful neckline and I should really be more conscious about showing up with that, because if I was queen, what would I be wearing? I would be wearing this. I think that was my favorite part, because now that feeds into every purchasing decision I ever make. And, Sundays are my days when I sit down and I strategize about my week. But what you have added onto that Sunday strategizing is that I also think about all the spaces I'm going to show up this week, and what am I going to wear in each of those spaces, and be very intentional even about that, because I know that those remaining 6 people are already in my experience. They're already in my experience, and I just need to show up dressed to be approachable,
Yeah.
and dressed to magnetize them to me. So I think that that's been the most powerful one. That's not to say that, some of the other things about like really dipping into your sensuality and tapping into that, because we as women are so powerful, and somewhere along the way we forgot that. I certainly didn't learn that in my household growing up. And so being reminded that we are the seat, we are capable of producing life. That's exactly how powerful we are. I think that was a tremendous reminder. And it probably because I also skew very masculine in a lot of what I do. Look, I've been on my own for so long, like I had to really force a lot of things. And so I had to be masculine. I had to be a survivor. And I think that you gave me a huge reminder to dip back into the feminine. I don't know that I am in a lot of spaces that remind me to do that.
Yeah. And I love that you share that. I'm always curious to see which session is someone's favorite inside of sovereignty, and everyone has a different answer. But it's so powerful because you would think that, okay, we're talking about your color. Okay, what does that got to do with showing up powerfully and magnetizing yourself and attracting high end clientele? We talk about, what does your kingdom look like, or whatever we do, shadow work, journaling, whatever it is, and it all connects, it all works together, and it all is there for a purpose. So, if there's someone on here watching that, you know, is maybe curious about this or thinking about it, they're like, I really want to start closing high end clientele. I want to start attracting, powerful people to myself. I want to start showing up in my sovereignty. What would you say to them?
In addition to the assigned reading that we had, which was Pussy the Reclamation, I also read a book by John Randolph Price called The Abundance Book. And in that book, it talks a lot about heart and mind, this being the source of your abundance. But I know that you've grown up and had a very religious upbringing, but it really embodies that God is in us as us. And so when we talk about the universe, we talk about a higher power, we talk about a higher self, we're really talking about ourselves. And so all of the abundance that you need is already here. We just have to get in alignment with that. And so I think that's another piece of the sovereignty. I think that is another piece of why I've had $100,000 month, that I've been able to really collapse time in the last 3 months and get in alignment with that. I think my challenge is maintaining that, because there's always going to be something that's going to knock you down. So I'll be vulnerable enough to say that, sometimes day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute, sustaining that is a challenge. But I know that I have to really keep cultivating that. So that's reading books, that's coming to sessions like yours, that's doing the exercises, that's doing the affirmations, that's doing the shadow work. I've had some amazing breakthroughs in doing the topically typical questions, and really connecting the dots on key things that I didn't even realize about myself. And so I think it's daily work. It's like going to the gym. You can't go once and expect to be healed. It has to be daily work, and sometimes it's hourly work.
Yeah. So I'm so thankful that you came on here and you shared. It's been such a pleasure watching you inside of Sovereignty and seeing you just show up and just seeing you just like bloom, like blossom into like I feel like we met and I kind of knew you as one thing, and then getting to know you on a deeper level just really has been just a beautiful experience for me to see you go through the sovereignty program. And I really want to just encourage, if you're watching this and you're like, wow, like I resonate with what Joya is saying. I resonate with the upbringing. I resonate with being super masculine, the hustle culture, and I really want to start attracting more people, more quality leads to me. All these things. If it's resonating with you, I highly recommend that you do one of two things. One, you comment hashtag sovereignty down below to get access to the free Own Your Sovereignty training. And two, if you're interested in being a part of the sovereignty program, for the next cycle 4 next year, message me, hashtag sovereignty program, okay? And I'll go ahead and hop on a call with you. What it's gonna look like is I'm gonna get on a call. We're gonna see if this is the right fit for you. Because for me, it's yes, I want people to be a part of it, but I also want someone who's gonna be ready and committed to do the work. Because there's work in there. We got work to do, okay? And if you're not committed to the work, then it's not for you because then it's not gonna work, right? And so we'll have a conversation, and if it aligns with you, then we'll go ahead and get you inside of sovereignty. I really am so excited for you. There's so much more in store for you. There's so much more to come, and I can't wait to see you explore and blossom into consistent 6-figure months in your business. Maintain that and make it your new normal, and then getting to the millions. So, is there anything else you want to share before we go ahead and hop out of this live?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have my own mastermind too. So I see the difference between those who do the work and implement and those who do not. There is so much magic on the other side of doing the work, which is why I do it.
Yeah.
I'm eager for that magic. I'm hungry for it. And I know that you got to show up. And so, I think it's a heavy lift when someone comes up and they just want to heave all of the responsibility on you and then blame you when things don't work. I'll use the gym analogy again, which is that you join a really expensive gym, but you never show up. And then you're like, well, that gym sucks. I still, look the same as I did when I first signed up. Well, you got to show up and you got to do the work.
Yeah.
And I really think that your program can be really magical for anyone who does the work.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, thank y'all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Sovereignty series in the next video. Bye, y'all.